Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Dan Su here with some more Stormbound. So, I recently hit rank 15 with a new winter deck that I've been piloting, and I want to share it with you guys because it's pretty cool and I haven't seen anything else like it on the ladder. So, let me just run you through some stages of my deck's development. So, I started out with some kind of winter control shell. It's like got Veterans of War and Ulf the Hammer as our finishers, and then the classic Winter package, which is Midwinter Chaos plus Wisp Cloud plus Frost Hexers. And then I've also got Rhymelings plus Gift of the Wise, which appears in every single Winter deck. And then other than that, I got Collector Mirrors, which is found in most control decks too, or any deck that isn't a rush deck, pretty much. And then the standard green prototypes plus gifted recruits to hold off the enemy line, along with First Mutineer and Freebooters, which are also pretty common. So this deck it performed well, but essentially what it wasn't using was the mana cards in Winter, and essentially I thought that they were pretty bad. Frozen Core and Dawn Sparks, especially. I felt like you essentially weren't getting that much value out of them. And Lady Rhyme along with that, because even though Lady Rhyme, because she gains 2 strength per extra mana, she like asymptotically approaches 200% mana efficiency, which is very similar to like my gifted recruits right now or my first mutineers. She has no movement, and so you can only really play her in a super late game situation, and oftentimes the opponent will be able to kill you or deal with it in a cheap way, like Broken Truce. So then I went against a deck that actually used the mana cards, and I was blown away. So then I switched over to a build that's a lot more similar to what you will usually see on the ladder, which they run basically everything that I told you about, along with Dawn Sparks, Lady Rhyme, and Frozen Core. And so it's worth noting that Frozen Core, even though structures are very weak right now, if you even get one proc of Frozen Core, then it becomes a 2 mana 4 strength thing. So it's not that bad. It has no movement, so it's still not preferable. But since you're a lot of the times you're playing on the defensive, if you get a little bit of map control, you can just play Frozen Core. And Dawn Sparks, obviously, if you've ever seen it used, you put it 2 spaces behind the enemy unit so that on their turn, their enemy unit moves up by 1, and then your unit can move up by 1 and hit it for the extra 4 mana. And at that point, at level 3, Dawn Sparks becomes 2 mana for 10 strength, which is just absurd. That's crazy. So, what I noticed playing this deck, however, oh, you'll notice that I put in Gold Grubbers instead of Freebooters because I just felt like I have so many cards without movement now that I need a card that does move. So Gold Grubbers is kind of similar to Freebooters in that it cycles stuff, so that you can draw Collector Mirrors and Gift of the Wise sooner. But unlike Freebooters, it can actually move and attack. And so at level 3, it has a little bit worse percentage-wise of stats, but it's still 4 mana for 6 strength, so it's decent. So the biggest thing that I noticed here is there's 2 conflicting strategies that you have. One is that you want to cycle your cards faster in order to draw cards that you need. You want to draw what Collector Mirrors creates. You want to draw those. You want to draw a Gift of the Wise, right? And now like we have the mana so that so that we can draw more cards. We can play more Rhymelings. We can play Dawn Sparks, which gives us even more mana so that we can power out other things. So what's the problem here? The problem here is we have freeze cards that kind of contradict our strategy, which is we have Wisp Cloud, which is even at level 3, it's only 4 mana for 4 strength, which is pretty bad. And we have Midwinter Chaos, which by itself can be kind of annoying, but for 3 mana, I don't know if we're happy not doing anything other than freezing enemy units. And we have Frost Hexers, which is a decent card. It's pretty good on its own. It can do a lot of different things. It can help you attack. It can help you defend. It's pretty good all around. But the thing is, these other 2 guys, they really need another freeze card, at least one other freeze card in your hand in order to be useful. And even then, if the opponent's board isn't like set up enough, then they don't really do anything. And what this means is it's very hard for this deck to close the game out because you're pretty mana inefficient here, and so if you have an advantage, you clear the enemy's board. All of a sudden, your freeze cards become useless, right? But the bigger reason why this isn't going to work for this deck in particular is because in order to have like two of these cards in your hand, you have to be like cycling cards a lot less often. So Gold Grubbers and First Mutineer suddenly become a lot worse, just because if they discard half of your combo, then you can't use it. And if you're trying to save one card for next turn so that you can set up a combo next turn, then they'll almost definitely cycle it away because you're playing most of your hand already. So with that being said, I decided to go for a less conventional route and go with this third deck here. I took out the whole winter package. I took out Frost Hexers and I put back in green prototypes. And so this deck is what I piloted to hit rank 15 right now. The season's still early, so I don't know how well this will fare against higher upgraded decks, but I think that at least against decks that are similarly upgraded to my level, it's super strong. It's probably tied with a freeze control for the best deck. I'm pretty sure because it's just it's so efficient with the mana that you get out of Dawn Sparks and even protecting a frozen core, which is not as good as Dawn Sparks, I'm pretty sure. And instead of the freeze package, we get to run more early game. Green prototypes, I'd say, is better than Frost Hexers. And we get to run more cycling. We have freebooters and gold grubbers and first mutineer to just cycle through our deck at lightning speed to draw all of the collector mirrors value and all of the gift of the wise and rhymelings. And then so for the finishers, we have Lady Rhyme, which is a pretty good mana sink. I actually don't use her very much because it's difficult to use with Lady Rhyme when you're behind, and when you're ahead, sometimes it's easier to just kill the opponent outright than to play a huge minion. But that's up to debate based on the situation. Sometimes Lady Rhyme, you play her, she's like 40 strength, the enemy concedes, fast game. So the one card that you guys usually don't see is Siren of the Seas. So I was fortunate enough to have a level 2 Siren of the Seas, or unfortunate enough based on what you think of her. I think that she's not one of the best legendaries, but I think she's a really good card in this deck. And the reason why is because, well, first of all, every deck needs a way to finish the opponent off when they're ahead. So that's why I really like to run First Mutineers no matter what deck I'm in. And Siren of the Seas is pretty much that. And even if there's a enemy unit in the way, she can like eat that unit and then deal at least 4 damage to the enemy base. So this deck has a lot of mana. And especially in the later games with spamming collector mirrors, you will have a lot of excess mana, and that's why Lady Rhyme is a good option at all, because sometimes you just have so much mana you can't spend it all. And so Siren of the Seas is a good alternate way to spend your mana, especially because as your deck gets more and more bulky with collector mirrors, you may not be drawing Lady Rhyme every time you want to. And so Siren of the Seas is like it's a second way to draw something like that. So I think this deck overall it's very solid. You'll notice everything is level 3, so if you don't have that, then it may be more difficult getting to rank 15 at this time. But I do think Winter is one of the more expensive decks, so if you like stick with Swarm if you're still looking for budget options. Oh, I will say my legendaries are all level 2 also. They're not level 3, but they are level 2. I think Lady Rhyme, when she gets to level 3, then she becomes like quite fearsome. Collector Mirrors, level 3, it's an okay improvement. I mean, against rush decks, we aren't playing Collector Mirrors that much. So I don't think upgrading him another level wouldn't matter that much. Siren of the Seas, I think her next level is a little better, but a lot of the times I'm only playing her for 10 mana 7 damage. So it's not even that good. If you're looking for a replacement for Siren of the Seas, I think Ulf the Hammer is fine, and even like any of the neutral cards that cost a lot of mana, I think these are all fine too. Like Crazy Bombers. I don't know about Joust Champions. I don't know about Temple Guardians either, just because your back row is gonna be filled with frozen core sometimes. I don't know, and maybe Archdruid Erin if you have her upgraded. Oh, that's another thing. It's not really related to this deck, but there is one variant that I can't play, which is level 4 Archdruid Aaron, who can cast 2 spells, and then from then on you can be running like Needle Blast, Shenanigans, and all sorts of stuff to mess with the opponent. But I'm not fortunate enough to try that out. So I just wanted to show you guys this deck, and in an upcoming video I'll probably show me playing the deck quite a bit, talk about some strategy and stuff. But other than that, give the deck a try, and thanks for watching.